Nuclear energy already plays a big role in the Carolinas, whether it's roughly with 50% of our energy coming from that source. As we look to make our electric grid carbon-free, nuclear looks to play an even a larger role locally. Tonight, we're going through the history of nuclear energy and why the future of nuclear plants are getting smaller.
Power. It's what keeps the lights on. When you flick your light switch, have you ever thought about where that energy comes from? Coal, gas, oil, renewables, nuclear? There's a good chance in the future more and more of those light flicks are going to be powered by nuclear energy. Nuclear power has been around for decades, first created during the Manhattan Project in 1942. But the idea to use the power of the atom for energy didn't really take off until President Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace speech at the UN in 1953, with the first commercial nuclear power plant starting operation in 1957. But nuclear power plants really didn't take off in the U.S. until the 1970s and 80s. Just as nuclear energy started to heat up, a number of factors put the clamps down on continued growth. High upfront construction costs and a greater demand for cheaper coal plants led to 67 planned reactors being canceled in the 1980s.
Coal plants that you could construct and put in service for a lower cost than you could, a nuclear plant.
But now innovation and a growing need for a reliable carbon-neutral energy grid has brought interest in nuclear power back on the rise.
People are doing the math and they understand that when you have nuclear energy on your system, you can actually get to a more affordable and reliable low-carbon energy system.
In the past, very large and costly nuclear power plants were the only way to go.
The price tag would be somewhere around $18 billion for 2 units.
But now the future of nuclear plants are getting smaller, not larger. SMRs, or small modular reactors, will be key to nuclear's future.
Smaller, more modular reactors have a lot of advantages that we've learned over these decades of operation.
While these reactors are still costly, the upfront capital expense is significantly less than legacy reactors.
It's probably somewhere around like $3 billion versus like a $9 billion project.
Nuclear energy already plays a large role in the Carolinas.
Across the entire footprint of Duke Energy generation footprint, it's 30%. Within the Carolinas, which is where our plants are located, it's 50%.
With nuclear energy expected to make up a greater piece of the energy pie in the future.
By 2050, we would be somewhere around 60%, a little bit over 60% of our generation within the Carolinas.
Duke's first new nuclear reactor since 1987 is expected to come online by the middle of the next decade.
It will be a small modular reactor, so that 600 megawatts would actually end up being 2 300 megawatt units,
helping to provide more base load power to the exploding use of renewables.
SMRs, they can just run base load, and then you can cycle wind, solar, based on the availability of those natural resources.
One of the biggest advantages of these smaller modular reactors is saving time.
Modularity in construction is an advantage because smaller reactors are going to be quicker to build,
along with a simpler construction process.
You almost put it together, almost, for lack of a better term, like a puzzle.
One company that's been developing this technology is NUSCALE Power, based in Portland, Oregon. Their 50-megawatt reactor design was the first to get approval from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in January.
There's no in-field construction, erection, or fabrication, and they're transported to the power plant site, making the power plants less expensive to build, operate, and maintain.
Another advantage of SMR designs like NUSCALE's is improved safety.
Our safety case resulted in an approved methodology for an emergency planning zone, an EPZ, in the U.S. that only extends as far as the site boundary, as opposed to 10 miles for our current U.S. plants.
That doesn't mean there aren't potential problems, though, with nuclear energy.
It's been a financial disaster.
The biggest being the upfront cost and time overruns with the latest reactors built.
It showed that every unit built had cost overruns and construction delays. Even when it was 90% complete, they still didn't estimate the construction time horizon and the costs correctly.
That time horizon is crucial for having a significant impact on lowering our carbon footprint. A time horizon some environmental groups say we don't have or really need.
On an annual basis, we can deploy thousands upon thousands of megawatts of wind and solar and battery storage. By the time you get one of these things built, which takes well over 10 years, you probably don't need it anymore.
the nuclear industry is betting that new investment can help make nuclear cheaper in the future.
With wind and solar in the US. You go back 15 years and wind cost about 4 times what it costs today. Solar cost about 10 times what it costs today. And so like with those technologies, as we build more nuclear in the US, we're going to move down that cost curve and it's going to get more cost effective.
The Department of Energy sees nuclear playing an integral role in a zero carbon future.
The 700 gigawatts of clean, firm power that we need to add to our grid to replace unabated fossils and to expand the electrification that we need. About 1 to 200 of those new gigawatts of clean, firm power will need to be nuclear,
which is roughly the equivalent of 500 million solar panels. While the upfront costs are high, nuclear energy looks to play a crucial role in our zero carbon future, meaning more and more of those light flicks will be powered by the atom. Reporting for Queen City News, I'm Andrew Brightman.